I have the third saying from the cross. I don't think I can take you to all the scriptures that I'm probably going to cover, but what I would like is if you make a note of them and look at them yourself after we're done. I won't be able to cover them all if I try to go to them. You know, there's a saying that, an old saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. And what that saying really is about is that sometimes when you get too wrapped up in the individual specifics, you miss the broad picture, you know. And the third saying, behold your son, behold your mother. If there is anyone that really needs the whole picture in order to be seen clearly, it's this one. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, we're going to look at the chronological sequence of these 7 sayings, and real briefly, and then we'll focus on it, the third saying. So go with me to the third saying in John chapter 19, verse 25 through 27. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother and his mother's sister, Mary the wife of CLEOPAS, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing by, he said to his mother, Woman, behold your son. Then he said to the disciple, Behold your mother. And from that hour, that disciple took her to his own home. Now that's the third saying from the cross, but let's get a picture of the chronological sequence of these. So I'm going to run through these pretty fast, and you can take notes on which ones are, where the scriptures are. The crucifixion began about 9 o'clock in the morning. And the first saying is uttered shortly thereafter, while the crowd is loudly mocking and ridiculing him. And that's when Jesus says, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. That's Luke 23:24. The second saying is probably about an hour or so later, when the crowd is sort of settled down a little bit. And one of the thieves, having observed him pretty closely, suddenly has a change of heart. And Jesus says to him, today you'll be with me in paradise. Then gradually, the crowd starts to grow weary and disperse and thin down until finally there's just a handful of small groups scattered here and there. And at that point is where Jesus focuses and his eyes fall on his mother. And he utters the third saying, Woman, behold your son. That's John 19:26 and 27. Shortly thereafter, at noon, darkness covers the land. And it covers the land from noon till 3 in the afternoon. And it's in the midst of this darkness, toward the end, that Jesus cries out in the dark, the fourth saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? At 3 o'clock, the darkness starts to dissipate. And Jesus utters the last 3 sayings in kind of a rapid succession. It begins with, I thirst. And that's found in John 19:28. Having realized that all the scriptures have been fulfilled, he goes to the 5th and cries out the 5th saying, it is finished. That's John 19:30. And then shortly thereafter, he says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And that's Luke 23:26. it's hard to see this as a real event unless you see the whole thing. And it's scattered across all four Gospels, so it's very difficult to see. Well, at least three of them. One is repeat, so it's scattered over three. But that's the reason we need to see a chronological sequence so that we can see that this is a real thing that took place. So now let's focus in on the third saying. Behold, woman, behold your son. To the disciple, behold your mother. And we're going to look at this in two ways. First, we're going to look at it as a mother's heart. And then we're going to look at it as a son's love. We're going to look at it from two different perspectives. First, a mother's heart, and then a son's love. Read with me. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother. Now, this is amazing because his disciples may desert him. His friends forsake him. And his nation reject him. But his mother stood there at the foot of the cross, emboldened by love. No thought at all to the danger that might come from being associated with him at that moment. This is amazing because it shows the depth of her love. That her love had made her fearless. With the crowd mocking him. The two thieves taunting him. And the priest ridiculing him. His mother stood there and watched as her beautiful boy was destroyed. Even his brothers didn't believe in him. In John 7:5, don't go there, but his brothers did not believe in him. And he's got one relative from his household that's there, and that's his mom, no one else. Simeon in Luke 2:34 and 35 had made a prophecy about Jesus when he was a baby. And part of that prophecy, he said, told Mary specifically that a sword is going to pierce your soul. Well, that prophecy is being fulfilled at this moment because this poor woman is standing there having to endure all the pain that comes with knowing this man, her son. You see, having dealt with the normal mischievousness, unruliness, disobedience, and sinfulness of her other children, Mary knew more than any other the depth of his goodness. She'd watched him grow from a child. And unlike everyone else, he was sinless. So the pain in this poor woman's heart was amazing. But her standing there shows you something, that love never fails. It never fails. Let's look at a son's love. Now, Jesus, he's suffering, but at this point he spotted her and he realizes, looking at her, that a sword is piercing her soul, and he knows it. He's in a position where because his brothers don't believe, Jesus did not want his mother to be subject to the scorn and contempt of that unbelieving household after his death. He knew that even if parental respect caused them to not say it openly, there would still be an atmosphere of "I told you so" in that house. And not wanting to subject his mother to that, he needed a way to protect her until he rose from the dead. And spotting John, the only disciple who had the courage to stand near him during this time, Jesus spotted him and knew what he should do. He said, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." Basically, he was giving John responsibility for his mother, to take care of her and watch over her. Now, the wording here is too harsh. It does not allow us to see that there is a warm, loving desire pouring forth from this man. So we have to understand that in modern vernacular, Jesus was saying, "John, take care of my mother. Mom, you go with John, okay?" Because what he was demonstrating in his agony, in his suffering, in his own difficulty, was the fact that love never fails. Amen.